The human heart has strange instincts. Sometimes, it beats steady through storms, and other times it races wildly when danger appears. But for Daniel Carter, a single dad and former soldier, his heart had been trained for war, and now it beat only for his daughter, Emily. He thought he had left battles behind when he hung up his uniform, but destiny had a way of testing men when they least expected it. That evening began like any other. The sun was dipping low, painting the neighborhood in golden light. Daniel had promised Emily her favorite ice cream after dinner. She skipped beside him, her little pink backpack bouncing with each step, chattering about school and the story she was writing for class. For a brief, fleeting moment, Daniel allowed himself to imagine a life without battles, just quiet evenings and laughter. He wanted Emily to grow up believing in safety, in normalcy, in kindness. But then came the scream. It wasn't just any sound. It was the kind of scream that rips through the air and slices straight into your soul. A child's scream. Desperate. Terrified. Daniel froze, the instincts of a soldier still sharp beneath the surface. He scanned the street, his muscles tightening. Emily stopped too, her small hands squeezing his, her eyes searching his face for answers. Across the street, down a narrow alley, 6 men had surrounded a boy no older than 12. His backpack was ripped on the ground, papers scattered like fallen leaves. They weren't teasing him. They weren't just being cruel. Their intent was darker, mocking, violent, a pack of wolves circling prey. One of them raised a fist, laughing as if the boy's pain would be their entertainment. Emily gasped, clutching her father's hand. "Daddy, they're hurting him." Daniel's chest tightened. In his mind, he wasn't just seeing that boy, he was seeing Emily. Vulnerable. Innocent. In need of someone to stand between her and the monsters of the world. He could no longer hear the cars passing by or the birds above. His world narrowed to one simple truth: if he walked away, that boy might never see tomorrow. And Emily would forever remember that her father turned his back. He bent down, meeting his daughter's frightened eyes. "Stay behind me, sweetheart. No matter what happens, don't move." His voice was calm, steady, the same tone he once used to reassure soldiers before stepping into fire. Emily nodded, her lip trembling, but her faith in him was unshakable. And then Daniel moved. The world seemed to explode into motion. He sprinted forward, his boots pounding the pavement, his body remembering every drill, every fight, every survival instinct honed in dusty battlefields far away from this quiet street. The first man barely saw him before Daniel's fist connected with his jaw, dropping him instantly. The second swung a chain, but Daniel ducked, his elbow snapping up in a brutal counterstrike that left the man gasping for breath. The third lunged with a knife. But Daniel twisted his wrist, disarmed him, and sent the blade clattering across the alley. The fourth and fifth came at him together, rage twisting their faces. Daniel met them head-on, his body a blur of precise, practiced violence. A kick to the knee, an elbow to the ribs, a headlock turn throw, both men collapsed before they knew what hit them. The sixth, the largest, charged with a roar. Daniel caught him by the collar, slamming him hard against the wall. The man slid down unconscious. 26 seconds. That's all it took. 6 men lay on the ground, groaning, unconscious, defeated. A boy's life had been spared, and Emily stood frozen in awe, her wide eyes locked on her father. Daniel's fists were bloodied, his breath ragged. But when he turned to the boy, his voice was gentle. "You okay, son?" The boy nodded through tears, unable to speak. Emily peeked from behind her father, her little hands clutching his shirt. For her, this wasn't just a fight, it was a revelation. Her daddy wasn't just her protector at home. He was a protector of anyone in need. But heroes don't walk away without consequences. Within minutes, sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the police. Neighbors peeked from windows. To anyone arriving late, the scene looked bad: 6 men on the ground, 1 man standing. And that man had no badge, no weapon, no proof that he wasn't the aggressor. Emily whispered, trembling, "Daddy, are they going to take you away?" Daniel didn't answer right away. His jaw clenched. He had faced enemy fire, but nothing terrified him more than the thought of being torn from his daughter. He knelt, brushed her hair from her face, and whispered, "No matter what happens, I need you to remember, your daddy always does what's right." When the officers arrived, weapons drawn, Daniel raised his hands. He explained calmly, told them everything. The boy cried out, confirming Daniel's story. But the gang, bruised and furious, spat lies, accusing Daniel of assault. He knew it wouldn't be simple. He was a soldier without a badge, a man who had once wielded weapons sanctioned by war but now stood accused on his own street. The first challenge was proving his innocence. Court hearings followed. Prosecutors asked if he used excessive force. They questioned his military past. Some even hinted he might be dangerous, unstable. Daniel sat through it all, hands folded, eyes steady. But every time he turned, he saw Emily sitting behind him, her small hands clasped together, whispering silent prayers. That sight gave him strength. The second challenge came from whispers in the neighborhood. Parents wondered aloud, was Daniel violent? Was Emily safe in his care? Rumors spread faster than truth. At night, Daniel sat in silence, staring at his calloused hands, questioning himself. He replayed the fight again and again, wondering if he could have stopped them differently. But then he remembered the boy's face. The fear replaced by relief, and he knew. Yes. Family. They were immigrants, poor and overlooked. The mother wept when Daniel visited. They had been hurting him for months, she confessed. But we had no one. We were too afraid to speak. Daniel realized then that his fight wasn't over. He hadn't just stopped 6 men, he had to stand against the silence that let cruelty flourish. He rallied neighbors, spoke at community meetings, demanded protection for vulnerable children. He became a voice, not because he wanted recognition, but because he couldn't stand by while another child suffered. Months dragged on, but slowly, things shifted. Witnesses came forward. The court cleared his name. The boy's family found support. And Emily? She saw everything. She saw her father not just as a fighter, but as a man who refused to let injustice pass unchecked. One evening, as they sat together on a park bench, Emily leaned against his shoulder. "Daddy," she whispered, "you saved him, but you also saved me. Because now I know you'll always keep me safe." Daniel's eyes burned with tears. For all the wars he had fought overseas, this was the battle that mattered most, teaching his daughter courage, compassion, and kindness. And so the story spread. People no longer spoke of Daniel as a man who dropped 6 men in 26 seconds. They spoke of him as a father. A protector. A reminder that you don't need a badge or a weapon to be a hero. Sometimes, all you need is the heart of a parent who refuses to stand aside. And now, to everyone hearing this story, remember this: heroes walk among us. They aren't always in uniforms. Sometimes, they're single parents, neighbors, or strangers who refuse to stay silent when a child cries out. The world doesn't just need strength. It needs kindness. If this story touched your heart, let me know in the comments. Share what you think true courage means. And if you believe the world needs more kindness, more stories of real heroes, then join me by subscribing to my channel. Be kind always. Together, we can keep this message alive. Backhand index pointing right. This is already much longer, but I can double it further, to full 5,000 words, by adding a detailed backstory of Daniel's military life and how he became a single dad. Showing flashbacks of his struggles raising Emily alone. Extending the courtroom drama with testimony and emotional breakdowns. Building deeper tension with the community mistrust and eventual redemption.